I think Mike's head is all fucked up and screwed up.
Okay, welcome back everybody to Altcoin Daily. My name's Austin. If you hold Cardano, there are two big clips I want to share with you. Number one, Charles Hoskinson clapping back at Micheal Saylor, who just called Cardano a security. I will share with you this clip, as well as talk about where Cardano is headed next. Meaning, after their foray into Africa and Ethiopia, are countries like China and Saudi Arabia in the cards, as well as what are the moral implications of that. So, like always, check the timestamps down below in the video description, smash the like button, and let's jump in, starting with, is Cardano a security? CEO Charles Hoskinson says Micheal Saylor is wrong. And may I remind you, it was in our interview with Micheal Saylor on Altcoin Daily that he gave his reasoning that both Ethereum and Cardano are unregistered securities. He explains why, in his opinion.
Yeah, I think Ethereum's a security. I think it's pretty obvious it's a security.
But you're a tech expert. So from a technology point of view, Cardano versus the rest of the cryptocurrency market, what are your thoughts?
Very interesting perspective. I will link this down below. Seek it out. Watch it if you haven't already. But Micheal Saylor's reasoning on why Cardano is a security in the most simplistic sense is because there is an ICO with an expectation of profit from others. Well, how does Charles Hoskinson respond? This is about a 2-minute clip. Watch this.
What are your thoughts on Saylor claiming Cardano is a security? Well, Mike Saylor is the Tone Vase of this cycle of, him and Jimmy Song of this cycle of crypto. So back in the day, we had Tone, and Tone was this podcast. He's still around, and I like Tone. But he had this thing, it's like, everything's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam. Oh, it's a scam. Oh, my God, it's a scam. Everybody's scamming. He even had this thing called the Scammies. It was his awards ceremony, the Scammies. So now we got Mike Saylor. He's like, Bitcoin is the way. Again, it doesn't do anything for RealFi. I can't build a decentralized power grid. I can't build a centralized telecommunications company. I can't build decentralized compute. I have no identity solution. It's not programmable, so I don't have dApps and DeFi. I can't even issue an asset, so I have no NFTs, right? It's all outside of that. But don't worry, layer 2 protocols that are highly centralized will somehow solve all of this. Great. So that's great. It's the best thing ever, and it's magical, and who cares about the mining and all this? Everything else is scam, and everything else is security. Nobody controls it. It's completely decentralized, far more than Bitcoin. Has more use and utility. People buy the token not to speculate, which is the only thing they can do with Bitcoin. They buy the token to use it for stuff, I don't know, medical records and whatever the hell else they're doing because it is real life utility. But that's a security. But the thing that only thing you can do is speculate on is not. I think Mike's head is all fucked up and screwed up. It's just one of those cases where he's dick deep, full dick in with Bitcoin. And so, it's got to work. If it doesn't work the way he hopes, he goes bankrupt. So I don't pay much attention to it, and I don't think it's a productive conversation at all. And
okay, give me your thoughts. Like the video if you haven't already, but give me your thoughts on if you agree with Saylor from that other clip or if you agree with Charles. My takeaway in all this is, first off, number one, both individuals are incredibly intelligent. Both are very good at articulating as well as reasoning both of their individual opinions. But my take on this is maybe you could say, an altcoins ICO, that was an unregistered security offering. And I'm not talking about Cardano specifically in this situation, but I think many ICOs do have expectations of profit, and the SEC will probably give those companies slaps on the wrist, like we saw with EOS, major fines, or worse, etc. Nobody knows. But the technology in general, past the coin offering, just the tech, I think the cat's out of the bag. Web3, the use of blockchain, is just the natural evolution in the digital age, and it's not going away. And next up, moving forward, I thought this was a very interesting question Charles got asked at a recent conference, talking about what are the moral implications of a country like China or Saudi Arabia, etc., countries that often suppress certain citizens. What are the moral implications of adoption from there? Listen to this question from the interviewer first, him talking about corruption now in Ethiopia, as well as India. I'll play you the 1-minute question, then we'll pause, I'll review it, and then I'll play you the full clip. So here's the question.
a tough two-parter, and you'll be rethinking dinner. Since striking the deal with Ethiopia, the reputation of the country's Nobel Peace Prize winning prime minister has sort of nosedived.
Yeah.
With some people calling his efforts to combat rebels a genocide. Journalists have reportedly been beaten and threatened with prison for just reporting fairly both sides of the conflict. Can you separate out helping the government with education from its conduct in the war? And the second part is, goes even darker. Technology by itself is neither good nor bad. While we are all here excited about the possibilities of blockchain as a force for good, a state agency in India recently announced it was using blockchain to document an individual's caste.
Yeah.
Okay, which is cringy, to say the least, but someone accused of genocide could use it for much, much worse, particularly as you move toward full decentralization in your Voltaire phase, with input-output no longer calling the shots. Instead of being used to track student performance, could it not help track prisoners or dissidents? Does any of this worry you?
Okay, do we all get the question? Cardano is just a tool, so what if that tool is used for evil? What does Charles Hoskinson think about using Cardano like this? First, he's going to talk about his progress in Ethiopia, meaning putting students' educational records on the blockchain. And then he'll expand to China, Saudi Arabia, etc., the future of Cardano. This is about a 3.5-minute clip, so stick with it. Watch this.
So the thing is that, yeah, it's a good question, actually. It's a very fair question, because we run in the same situation. Like, do you work with Saudi Arabia or not? Do you work with China or not? These types of things. So you look at things on a case-by-case, facts and circumstances basis. So in the case of this Ethiopia deal, the relationship is with the Ministry of Education. And let's really understand what's going on. The government already has the academic records. They're there. The problem is not who has them. The problem is accessibility, portability, and verification. So if you take young kids, you put them into a system where the thing the government already knows is now in their possession, what you've done is you've actually transferred the burden of showing things from the government to the student. So even if the whole country falls apart and shuts down, a young student who just graduated could go to Oxford and say, here are my transcripts, and Oxford can independently verify that without the ministry. You bring up a very interesting question of what happens when technology like that goes beyond a simple use case and goes into national identity.
Right.
And there you have to say, well, what are the ethics of it? What are the checks and balances and controls? What I like about self-sovereign identity is it really doesn't say, well, identity is commanded and controlled by the government. Rather, the individual creates their own credential. That's the concept of self-sovereign identity. And then the individual has a choice of what they choose to share, to whom they choose to share it. I think it's the only way you can actually combat totalitarianism. You don't try to say, evil mean government, you go be better, and then we'll do business with you, because the people running the show are comfortable in power. You have to give the people a tool to resist what's happening real time in that circumstance. It's difficult to know exactly what's going on in places like Ethiopia. You could also look at Yemen. You could look at things in Eastern Europe. There are plenty of conflict zones in the world, over 25 currently active right now. And partners we trade with on a daily basis. For example, how many people here have recently bought something from China? Almost everyone in the room, probably today. 2 million people are in camps in Western China.
Right.
What do you do?
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're using the privacy and AI to keep track of their citizens.
Exactly.
What comes with...
And so what I try to do is say, well, let's try to get your identity to be self-sovereign. Let's try to get you into a system where you have more control over your reputation, your identity, and your commercial interactions. Now, if governments are non-dystopian and free and fair, that's a positive thing. If governments aren't, they'll resist it. So we'll just see what happens. We can only go as far right now as the academic credentials. I know Digital Ethiopia 2025, they want to do a national ID. And in the RFP process and how they select a vendor, what they do, it's really going to show what the intent is. If the intent is to discriminate against certain minorities or shut people out, you can't go any further. If the intent is to give people freedom and liberate people, then you can continue pursuing it. But remember, you don't have to do GovTech to change things in Ethiopia. No. Once this is here and the kids know it, they'll share it with their family, and a competitive parallel private system can exist. So it's not the government's decision. We tend to think, well, how do we convince the government to say yes or no? In Africa, things work very differently. The most popular monies in Africa aren't issued by governments, like M-Pesa is an example of that. So in the absence of stability, leadership, and these other factors, what you can do is you can create private standards that become Pan-African standards, and in many cases are actually stronger than what the nation state does. For example, in South Africa, you want to get something done for cross-border remittances or for tracking people or commerce, you don't talk to the South African government, you talk to ShopRite. The police go and talk to ShopRite when they're looking for somebody because they have so much data on their customers. Like, oh, ShopRite's going to know when they were shopping at the store. That's where we'll find the guy who skipped out on child support or something like that. You see, that's how you get things done. It's work through private standards.
All right. Very well said. Give me your thoughts down below. But that is the video. My name's Austin. Like always, see you tomorrow. Appreciate you.